Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lythopia 2024. I'm Brittany Pais. I'm the VP of Customer Experience here at Lytho. And the first rule of Lythopia 2024 is there are no rules. So put your out of office on, prepare to be dazzled and inspired. We want to make sure you have a great time and learn a lot. We are recording this, and we will be sharing this recording back with you along with a survey for your feedback in the next few days. Please also share excitement and your thoughts with everyone in the chat. We love seeing what you're excited about, what resonates with you, and we'll be taking questions during the panel session. We are doing this live, which is exciting, but because we're doing it live, it's possible we may have a speaker run into technical difficulties. We've even had a few power outages already this morning. It's been very exciting. So if that happens, sit back. We'll fix it as quickly as possible. And you can always email our support team at support@lytho.com, and they'll be standing by ready to help. I am especially excited for this virtual Lythopia because it is hitting right in the middle of our in-person tour. We're coming together to meet you where you are. We came to New York, we came to Boston, and help create Lytho communities across the US. If you're on the West Coast, get hyped. LA, we are coming your way in October. And also be sure to follow us on social, share the hashtag Lythopia 2024 love. If you have any inspiration from today or tricks that you learned or best practices you're taking away, we would love to see it using that hashtag. And if you go right now to the Lytho LinkedIn page, you'll even see a special post celebrating Lythopia today where you can share your favorite GIF and join in on the excitement. We love celebrating with you, learning from you, showcasing all of your achievements, but these events don't create themselves. So a big thank you to the Lythopia Planning Committee and especially Natalie Williams for spearheading these programs for us and helping us bring our community together. So I know y'all are anxious to get to the good stuff, but I want to take a moment and point out a few updates and exciting things that we're bringing to you and some new programs and services. At Lytho, we are always striving to enhance your experience and provide you with the best tools and resources for creative content and marketing success. So with this in mind, we are thrilled to introduce our newly revamped support portal, which now combines our knowledge bases across all of our products and all of our support services into one seamless platform. This is available around the clock. It's full of how-to guides and best practices. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead. It's the best place to learn about our products, our plugins, and integrations. And we are excited that we are bringing you new ways to learn even more about Lytho. So going forward, we're going to be offering monthly office hours and trainings to help you get the most out of the Lytho products in your subscription. These are perfect for anyone who needs a product refresher or just has a question that they want to get a customer success manager's take on, or if you have any new members of your team that are wanting to level up their Lytho game. Sign up for these sessions. You can register for these. There's a link that we're going to provide in the chat for you, or you can go directly to the new support portal at support.lytho.com and register there. And of course, you can keep joining us for the Lytho Lowdown Live, which is held the first Friday of every month. These are the best way for you to learn about the latest features we're releasing, ask questions directly to our team, see these features in practice, and gain insights on how to make the most of our products. We are going to be offering a special post-show Lytho Lowdown Live this Friday in just 2 days to dish on the hottest questions you have from today's summit. So if you want the post-Lythopia recap, join us this Friday at the Lytho Lowdown Live. So let's get into it. I am excited to see where the day takes us. After our product updates, we're going to go into the 2024 Lytho Customer Awards. And then we're going to bring in some serious expertise from industry leaders at Live Golf, Summa Health, and Old National Bank. So without further ado, to kick us off officially, I'd like to introduce our CEO, Doug Thede. Hey, Doug.
Hello, Brittany. You can hear me?
I can.
Okay, I was the one that had the power outage, so hopefully it doesn't go out again. Thank you, Brittany, though. I do appreciate that, and thank you all for joining us today. I am certainly excited to be here, and we have a lot to cover in today's sessions. But my hope is that after today, you walk away from our time together with 2 key takeaways. One is the excitement over what we've already delivered, and 2, great anticipation on what's to come. To start, I like to frame today's discussions around a key principle for us here at Lytho, our North Star, which simply states, as you can read, to help our customers achieve better content outcomes. This truly is our focus, and you should see this in everything that we do. And while helpful for us, any North Star can feel a little theoretical and high level. And so we need to take a deeper look. So allow me to take a few minutes to explain further. Now, I've been here at Lytho since late 2019, and this phrase here seems to continually be true. This is the hardest time ever for marketers, and it certainly isn't getting any easier. And to achieve better content outcomes and better results, we need to dig further. And so we came up with a list of 12 challenges our teams may be facing. Now, I won't read this list in its entirety, but take a moment. There certainly are a lot here. And I'm curious if any of these particularly resonate with you. And feel free to add them to the chat if they do. Now, as I reviewed this list, two in particular stood out to me. First, number 10, way too many marketing tools. I saw earlier this year the report that indicated over 14,000 MarTech tools, and I'm sure you've seen that too. And now, whether you believe the report or not, the bottom line is that there are a lot, and the number continues to grow. So at best, it adds confusion. And secondly, number 6, pressure to drive business growth and prove ROI. Now, as a reformed finance guy myself, understanding an ROI sounds simple enough, but can many times turn elusive. And whenever I look at a list like this, my mind immediately tries to simplify what it's trying to communicate. I look to boil them down to manageable elements. And when I look at this list, my key takeaways are 2 challenges. First, how to make efficient use of our time, and 2, how to maximize the impact of the content that we create. Also, while these challenges impact our teams, they can affect us as individuals. And if we don't do something, these challenges can impact our well-being. Challenges like high stress, whether that's stress over the looming or even missed deadlines, managing multiple projects, or even trying to respond to that great AI suggestion from your CEO, or from those well-meaning colleagues that you work with. And as if these challenges were not enough, handling them can be a challenge in and of itself, especially if the world continues to change around us. And what I've seen and heard over my time at Lytho is some variation of this phrase shown here. What worked yesterday doesn't work today. Now, we all have our tried and true methods, but as the world changes around us, some of those don't always work like they did before. And unless we do something about those challenges, they can snowball into that dreaded, ineffective content. So what do we do? Well, just like countless other groups and industries, we need to innovate and adapt. And at Lytho, that's exactly what we've been doing for years and what we will continue to do in the years to come. But before I talk about how Lytho has been doing this, I like to draw an example, basically an analogy of how another group have also innovated and adapted. And if anyone's paying attention to what's going on in Paris right now, I like to draw an analogy to how the Olympic athletes have innovated and adapted over the years. More specifically, I like to talk about an event that has seen a lot of innovation and adaptation over the years, the high jump. Now, as we know, the goal of the high jump is to simply leap to the highest heights possible. And I find this goal applicable to us as well, working to continually reach new heights and raise the bar. Now, for those astute observers, the photo shown here is of the more modern high jump technique, the Fosbury flop. And while widely accepted today as the most efficient and obvious method of high jumping, that actually wasn't always the case. And so let's take a brief look at the history of the high jump techniques beginning way back in the 1890s. Back then, jumpers used a very tried and true method. They ran straight at the bar and kicked one leg over it, followed by the other leg in a scissoring motion. And this was called the scissor method, and it worked reasonably well. The competitors were able to clear the bar and produce impressive results, reaching a high mark of almost 2.0 meters. However, the scissor method had its limitations. If the jumpers wanted to continue to achieve higher highs and raise that bar, they needed to innovate and adapt. And just like us, they needed to focus on their key challenges, which revolved around two things. First, an efficient transfer of momentum, and second, achieving a low center of mass. And the jumpers knew that while the scissor method allowed them to jump reasonably high, they needed to improve if they were going to win. And so in the early 1920s, athletes started running diagonally and then rolled over the bar with the body facing downwards. They called this new method the Western roll. Now, I won't go into the exact physics, but this method had incremental benefits and raised the jump to a height of just over 2 meters in 1936. But they didn't stop there. Beginning around 1950, an additional adaptation was made. Instead of rolling over the bar sideways, they shifted their body position to cross the bar face down with the leg straddling it. Hence, the method was referred to as the straddle method. And this too worked and increased the height at which athletes could jump, going to a record height of 2.28 meters. Now, interestingly, in each of these changes, the athletes continued to focus on two key challenges they faced. First, they modified their approach angle, running diagonally, to improve the transfer of their momentum. And secondly, they continued to modify their body position to lower their center of mass. And the jumpers would continue to focus on these challenges when they innovated and adapted. And candidly, that could be the end of the story. But someone had a different idea. And that someone was Dick Fosbury. If the prior changes were mere adaptations, his contribution was a true innovation. And as we know, necessity is the mother of invention. And for Dick Fosbury, that was also true. Early on, he struggled with using the existing methods as his physique didn't really allow him to be competitive. So instead of giving up, he worked to find a better way, a way that would work for him and his different physique. And while he too focused on the key challenges of the high jump techniques, he literally approached the challenges from a different direction, backwards. He not only changed his approach run, but flipped the sport around by jumping backwards over the bar, leading with his head and shoulders. Now, I can only imagine how his competitors looked at him, and if there wasn't a snicker in the crowd, I'd be surprised. He was certainly viewed as crazy, right up until the time he took home the gold medal with a jump of 2.24 meters in 1968. Now, despite the splash he made, you'll note that his jump didn't actually surpass the standing world record at the time of 2.28 meters, but the damage was already done. The prior methods would fade away from top competitions, really never to be seen again. Now, for those of you interested, you'll see the world record of 2.45 meters was set in 1993. Of course, using the Fosbury flop. Brittany, you can hit the animation. Thank you. Overall, the high jumpers were consistent in their approach to innovation and adaptation. They stayed focused on their key challenges, as they knew continuing to improve on addressing them was a key to achieving higher highs. And of course, that leads me back to Lytho and how we've been working to help you achieve your own higher highs and achieve those better content outcomes. And while we aren't competing for an Olympic medal, we know that what worked yesterday doesn't work today. So we too must work to innovate and adapt. But as we do this, we must keep our key challenges top of mind: how to make efficient use of our time and how to maximize the impact of our content. Now you can see I have another timeline, but this one's for Lytho's history. So let's take a quick trip down memory lane, if we will. Way back in 1999, a little company was launched called Proof It Online. The internet was coming of age, and our founder challenged the tried and true method for proofing creative assets. That time-old tradition of printing the proof, sticking it in a manila envelope to send it on a whirlwind tour of the office, and waiting for disjointed, incoherent, and not so timely feedback. Now, we know the old way worked. I mean, work did get done, but it wasn't ideal. Now, today, the idea of a manual proofing process is practically unheard of, well, at least amongst us here, right? But back then, moving to online proofing was probably like the first high jump adaptation, the Western roll. Now, that progress certainly propelled us forward. Yet, just like in high jumping, more advancements were on the horizon. Now, as an aside, while I was preparing for this talk, I ran across a quote that I felt encompasses what I'd like to talk about next. The quote says, the only way to get quality output is to start with quality input. I mean, we brought the world of proofing to the internet over 25 years ago to address the two challenges shown here, but we saw too many proofs with too many revisions and taking too much time. We solved one problem with easy to review proofs, but we hadn't yet gotten to the root cause. So we journeyed further. And around 2010, we launched a creative workflow tool, InMotion. Now, I am curious if we have any customers out there that actually remember this interface. Now, more recently, we referred to this initial version as Classic. And it was classic in that we combined the benefits of online proofing with creative workflow management. And so by improving the process that a creative asset went through, we saw improvements in the quality of the input, which in turn improved the quality of the output. Now, as we know, we didn't stop here. And in 2018, we ignited the market by launching a newly re-envisioned creative workflow solution, which we affectionately referred to as Ignite. And some people may even remember the little plush toy, Iggy. But nonetheless, taking advantage of new technologies, we matured our offering while still focusing on those key challenges, those challenges that are unique to creatives. Now, taking a moment to recap our first 20 years, we have really been focusing on how to help you achieve better content outcomes by allowing you to make more efficient use of your time. Now, with efficiency, you have more time to allocate to higher creative endeavors. Also, with efficiency, your content should have a higher impact. Yet, I was concerned we needed to do more if we wanted to continue to raise the bar. So we asked ourselves a simple question. If we produced a great creative piece of content, what would we want? Well, the answer we came up with was we'd want it to be used. We'd want it to be seen. And so we embarked on a journey which led us to the Netherlands and a digital asset management provider known as Lytho. As we now know better, a DAM is more than simply a place to store your files. It's a place for your work to shine. And if you do great work, having a DAM will impact the value by having it easily found, saving time, and allowing it to be distributed to the world and maximizing its impact. And just like the straddle high jump method, the combination of online proofing, creative workflow, and digital asset management propelled us all to new heights. But I felt that there was a Dick Fosbury out there waiting to innovate further. Well, maybe not a person, but at least a further innovation that would change how creative and content teams work together to achieve their highest highs. And I think I found that innovation. Now, some of you may know that we acquired DivvyHQ earlier this year. And while some of our creative audience may have wondered why we acquired a company that focused mainly on content teams, I actually believe it can have an impact similar to the Fosbury flop. Divvy excels in an area that helps both creative and content teams, and that area is planning. Now, I will touch on shortly, properly strategizing and planning only help to address those two key challenges that I've been mentioning. And so that brings us to today. Now, of course, our journey doesn't end here, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Where do we go from here? But as I reflect on this 25-year journey so far and the innovations and adaptations we've made, I realize that we've actually been operating under a greater framework, a framework that has guided us to where we are today, and a framework that will continue to propel us forward. And that framework is what we simply refer to as plan, create, perform. Any successful project starts with proper planning. I've learned that the hard way, that if we don't start with a plan, the chances of a successful outcome diminish rapidly. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a key reason we joined forces with DivvyHQ. Of course, a plan without execution is nothing. And create includes the idea of producing high quality, impactful, and creative content through proper collaboration and coordination. In addition, it requires efficiency and proper oversight and approval. Longtime customers know that this is an area where we started, and it remains a key passion for us. Finally, just like a high jumper, we need to understand our performance to continue to raise that bar. We need to know how we were doing, and we need to know how our efforts are impacting our businesses. If we just were to focus on plan or create, we sell ourselves short and will struggle to reach those higher highs. Now, in total, These concepts drive our thinking on how best to innovate and adapt for you all. And I hope that you see that in the rest of today's presentation as we talk about recent product releases and those releases coming very soon. And with that, I'd like to thank you again for joining us today, and thank you for being a valued member of our community. Without you and all your valued input, we wouldn't be where we are today, and we wouldn't be where we're going tomorrow. And where we're going tomorrow is the place where our innovation and adaptation will take us, the ultimate operations platform. Now, in closing, I'd like to draw on one last analogy to the high jump. Now, today, most high jumpers can't imagine even considering a high jump method that isn't the Fosbury flop. Similarly, if I may be so bold, in the future, I expect teams being unable to imagine a world where they weren't using Lytho to plan, create, and perform. Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to bring onto the screen and introduce you to the co-founders of DivvyHQ to share their journey and how they've embraced the concepts of innovation and adaptation. Brock, are you there?
I'm here.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Hello,
Thank
hello,
you.
hello.
All right. Brody,
Hi, everybody.
thanks. Yeah, it's great to have you all here. Doug, thank you so much for kicking this thing off. It's so great to speak with you all today and share our story. So I'm Brock Stechman. I'm the VP of Strategy here at Lytho. And this other guy here is Brody Dorland. He's the VP of Marketing. And we're the founders of DivvyHQ. So Doug, first off, I love those examples of how the high jump and Lytho have progressed over the years. That's just so cool to see. All right, now speaking of the Olympics, here's a fun fact about us. We're actually Olympic hopefuls ourselves. As you can see here from Simon, apparently you can just start calling yourself an Olympic hopeful. You don't actually have to fill out a form or anything. So we think that's pretty cool. But I'm sad to say we didn't make it again this year. So we'll have to continue hoping for another 4 years. Anyways, we're excited to share our story and why we've joined forces with Lytho to help content and creative teams innovate and adapt how they work. So I'll start with our backstory and how we began. It all started back in Kansas City in the 80s with two young Olympic hopefuls with amazing haircuts ready to take on the world. Side note, if anybody knows Brody, you know that he's had the same hairstyle his entire life, except for that one time he had the boy band Frosted Tips look. He tries to forget that stage in his life, but as any good friend would do, I just won't let that happen. It's just too amazing.
All right. They don't want to hear any of this. Let's get back on track.
All right. Okay. All right. So I'll fast forward. I'll fast forward to the early 2000s when our hairstyles got a little better. All right. So before DivvyHQ, we had a full service agency in Kansas City, Missouri for 10 years. We did a little bit of everything from brand strategy, design, marketing, website development, and we even got into building custom software applications.
Yeah, the mid 2000s was a really interesting time in marketing. Maybe some of you were there. Considering all the new digital technologies and marketing channels that were gaining traction, there were new blogging platforms and email platforms that were being launched. Social media networks, started taking shape, and certainly everybody started gravitating to this thing called Google to find new products and services. Now, this really caused a big shift, kind of away from traditional marketing and advertising tactics, and it forced companies to start thinking like publishers. And they had to figure out how to produce content on a regular basis to kind of fuel these new always-on digital channels. So this became our primary focus within the agency, kind of helping our clients create content to grow their brands online. This practice became known as content marketing, also known as inbound marketing. There's a few different names for it, but the content marketing world started really taking shape, and we really got good at it.
We did, but it wasn't very easy. So as our agency grew, we quickly got buried in spreadsheets, sticky notes, emails, and meetings. We could barely manage it all, and it just felt like chaos. So we had to find a better way to plan, manage, and collaborate with our clients. And like the high jumpers that Doug mentioned, we had to adapt so we could ultimately perform at a much higher level. And one thing we figured out early on was that spreadsheets are not just built to manage a demanding content operation. So we tried a bunch of different project management tools like Basecamp, Asana, Trello, you name it. We basically tried it. But none of them worked for the nuances and complexities of planning, managing, and creating content. Take, for example, a corporate blog or a newsroom or even your company Instagram profile. These are not one-off projects. These are always on content properties that should be fed with new content all the time. The planning and production effort for these initiatives is ongoing. And in most cases, multiple teams and stakeholders are involved. Okay, so if spreadsheets are out and project management systems don't fit, what the heck do we do? Well, we thought, what if we just build our own tool? We have a great team to do this. We have developers, and we knew exactly what features and functionality a tool like this should have. Oh, and by the way, if we build this right, maybe there are other companies out there that may also find this tool helpful. So we got right to work. And Divvy was born. So we launched Divvy in 2011 at the very first Content Marketing World Conference in Cleveland, Ohio. Shout out to Cleveland, if anybody's from there. And immediately got signups from huge brands around the world. And we realized very quickly that Divvy struck a chord, and the problems we were experiencing in our agency, they were the exact same problems so many other content teams were also facing.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the problems we were trying to solve back then haven't really changed very much. As Doug mentioned, that whole list you guys saw earlier. Oh, here it is. Most companies are still struggling with these, and most of them are shared across content and creative teams. But there were a few specific challenges, those that are highlighted here, that were the most painful and essentially required a different kind of tool with a different approach to solve. We recognize that the ideal tool for managing a content operation would help our clients define their strategy, improve their planning, improve collaboration throughout the production process, and provide unique reporting and auditing capabilities that content teams have never had before. And it really all starts with strategy. Too many companies either don't have a documented strategy or it's sitting in a file somewhere and hasn't been reviewed in months. We feel like every piece of content and every asset you create should align and support your most important objectives, audiences, topics, buyer stages, and the channels you're using to publish. When your strategy is baked right into your planning tool, you're much more likely to stick to it. Taking this a step further, your strategy should give you a framework that helps your team focus and prioritize your plan of attack. And like it or not, that plan of attack likely spans across multiple content properties and marketing channels. We built Divvy's planning features to help marketing and communications teams organize and schedule all of their various campaigns and content initiatives within configurable content calendars. But we also built a global calendar view so everybody has better visibility regarding what's coming up. So while Divvy was more geared towards planning and activation of content across your various marketing channels, it's highly beneficial for creative teams who want to have more visibility into the bigger marketing picture. When the right hand can see what the left hand is planning and producing, opportunities for collaboration explode. And as Doug mentioned, our vision is to bring our technologies together to get content, creative, and marketing teams all working better together. And better collaboration and streamlined processes equal less stress and happy team members.
Look, Brody, here's another guy, old Bob Ross, another guy who never changed his hairstyle.
Yeah, you're hilarious. So in all seriousness, folks, we're really excited about kind of the vision that Doug laid out earlier. So much so that as soon as the ink was dry on our acquisition from Lytho, our teams got right to work to build a seamless integration with Lytho's DAM, incorporating it directly into Divvy, which we launched earlier this month. It's really cool that the integration kind of streamlines the process of sourcing approved creative assets that need to be included in upcoming content, and the connection is really slick, and we're already getting really great feedback. Just a general note, if you haven't used Divvy before and are curious to try it, just please let us know, or you can go directly to DivvyHQ.com. There's a survey that'll come here at the end of the Lythopia, and certainly if you have an interest, we'd love to talk with you guys. We do have a free trial that you can start using just in a few minutes. It's really easy to get started. So send it to your content team. If you don't have any content folks on the call today, it's probably going to change their lives. So. With that, we'll pass it back over to Brittany.
Hey guys, that was awesome. I loved hearing the backstory and seeing the hairstyles. I do have a question. If you had to make one recommendation, you think about the current challenges you guys and Doug have been talking about that we're all facing in 2024, what do you think is the most important thing that content and creative teams should be focused on together?
Yeah, that's a good question, Brittany. So, I think there's a massive opportunity for content teams and creative teams to work better together and to get more aligned on three important things. I would say one, the content strategy, two, the content plan, and three, the content data. So I'll say it again: strategy, the content plan, and the content data. Um, yeah, many teams, I think feel like they're kind of rudderless and not exactly sure where to focus and how to improve to ultimately hit their goals, especially in today's environment. And these a lot of times teams are not always working together as well as they could be. So you've got the content teams that are working over here, and you may have the creative teams working over there, and it's a common problem that we see, and it's very overwhelming. So I think my recommendation is to create a detailed content strategy and document a plan, but start tracking all of your metrics if you're not doing that already. And so, like, long story short, if you have a clearly defined strategy, a detailed plan, and metrics for each of those activities, it's just so much easier to know what's working, what's not, and where to allocate your time, money, and resources. And you won't be flying blind as much, and you'll feel much more confident in what you're doing overall. And then what we have found is, like, look, if it's done right, content and creative teams will collectively know what to do and how to ultimately win together. And not to sound too pitchy here, but this is exactly what we help our customers with every single day. And our tools are built to provide that level of data and insights instantly. So you have that crystal clarity. But I'll end with this: it takes time. So the sooner you can start tracking all the content and data and progress in a centralized system, the more you can start to collect that data, analyze it, and then run the content audits to get smarter and smarter and smarter every day.
I love that. I love that spirit of continuous improvement. I also love that I asked for one recommendation. You gave us three, and they're all, I don't know
I
that
can't
you
help
can
it.
choose. So I
I
appreciate
can't help
that.
it.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys. That was awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brittany.
So, speaking of project strategy, Brock teed me up pretty nicely. I did want to chat a little bit about the very first time we meet with Lytho customers. To offer the best solutions and drive the best outcomes, the first thing that our customer experience team does is we ask our customers to give us an assessment of where the biggest challenges are. And when we get that data, when we look at all of it across all of the customers that have come to us at Lytho, the number one challenge that teams come to Lytho to solve is we waste time with rework due to poorly communicated requests. And I know a lot of you guys in the audience have been there, or maybe still, sorting through these processes. And when we dig deeper into this challenge, and this is something that we've spent a lot of time on trying to understand and dig into with you, there are three things that start to pop up to the surface for us that we hear from you time and time again when you first come to Lytho. One is that your team just doesn't get the transparency, the prioritization, the visibility, and to that overarching strategy, those elements that you just heard Brock and Brody talk about with Divvy. Two, some of the teams we talk to just aren't empowered to say no. And that's because you don't have the data on who is requesting what, or how often, or why. There's no way to prioritize or forecast. And three, there are too many silos. Some of the teams we talk to aren't even able to get the requirements they need up front. And that makes them reactive and frustrated, doing rework on work that they didn't plan for or anticipate or understand the context of. Listen, no one wants to win the Olympic gold medal for putting out work fires. And if they do, that's not personally a sport I'm interested in watching. So what do we tell you to do when you come to us with these challenges? Creative briefs change lives. Okay, I'm being a little dramatic here, but is there a higher jump or a leap of faith you have to take than trusting your stakeholders to give you the requirements you need to actually kick off a project successfully? And the data backs that up. When we see customers successfully using requests, not only does it result in a 13% fewer proof versions, aka rework, but the real stunner is the absolute time savings with overall proof durations, a 75% reduction in proof cycle time. That is a transformative improvement in operational efficiency. When you start at the beginning, you get faster turnaround, increased bandwidth, on-time deliveries. Oh yeah, also happier teams. And for those of you in the audience that currently have Lytho workflow, you know our team spends hours with you, partnering with you, breaking down those request processes, because we know the ultimate secret. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. If you start slow and focus on smooth, consistent actions, the right data points at the beginning of your process, you can eventually build up to speed without losing control or sacrificing quality. We know it can feel hard and slow at first to think about this part of the process, kicking off the process. But when you nail it, things are smooth, and smooth is fast. And this isn't just something we pay lip service to. Over the last year, we've released 12 improvements to request intake, reporting, visibility, and management. That's one new feature a month because we are so hyper-focused on this area of your process. We want you to be like those Olympic athletes, achieving at the highest levels, and that means being your partner and helping you adapt and innovate. So let's take a walk through all of the features we've released in the last year to help you gather details, kick off projects correctly, adapt your processes as priorities call for it, and communicate up, down, and sideways. We're going to start off as a requester, Brody Olympian, submitting a request for a sponsorship banner. Okay, so Brody's in the request here. He's filled out the details, but in order to communicate his request clearly, he's going to pull up an existing deliverable available to him in the Lytho DAM. And he can find this because he's been given permissions to see it and can easily search for what he needs through tags and metadata. He doesn't have to download it and re-upload it. It's seamless. But it doesn't stop there, because with the newly introduced feature, Request File Markup, Brody can specifically point out the changes he needs to the file, cutting down on confusion and time back and forth. He's going to request some changes to the URL here, the photo, and go ahead and submit that request. And one thing that I want to point out here is the teams that have already started using Request File Markup, which is already available to you today, have already started to see an 11% reduction of rework and proof versions. And some are even realizing up to a 25% reduction in proof versions just by starting to implement this feature, which is incredible. So he submits the request, and Arwen, our artist, is going to see the submitted request and look it over. Going through it, she realizes there have been comments added to the request file, which she can clearly see and understand. But she realizes she actually doesn't have all the information she needs. So she's going to go ahead and decline the request back to the requester, to Brody, and add the reason. She needs both the sizing and shipping information to complete this request. So Brody gets the notification, the request has been declined, and he can see it in his custom view, which, by the way, thanks to this weekend's release, requesters and team members now have access to declined requests in your account and the corresponding declined reason for reporting. So Brody is going to take a look, add the additional details necessary to the request, and resubmit. And back in the hands of Arwen, she now sees she has the information she needs and can accept the request into a project. She's going to pick the best project template, move the calculated due date forward based on Brody's request, and create that project. Her schedule has been created automatically. All she needs to do is fill in a team member based on the open specialty, and they will be assigned to all relevant tasks. And then she switches over to a calendar custom view to review external printing days. And to keep everyone on the same page, she shares this view with other members of her team and keeps everyone aligned and on track. But of course, we know we should always expect a change. Y'all, Brody Olympian has just received the most exciting news of his life, and he needs to request a change to the creative and to reassign the request itself. Congratulations, Brody, you did it. So you can see here with this change request, every submitted update that Brody adds is highlighted, and that's going to keep Brody and Arwen on the same page. So when Arwen gets the notification of this change request, she can look it over, she can see what's changed, and she can accept it. She's able to make the updates to the team and then go back to that request to update the requester to Brock based on Brody's request. And of course, let Brody, that we're all proud of him and we're all here cheering him on. So I just showed you a lot of new functionality that hopefully you've already been using, right? This is all already available in your accounts today. But I want to take a second and double click on the change request feature you just saw. This was our most requested feature that we were able to deliver in the last year. And it was built specifically to help you adapt, stay agile, and maintain alignment with the needs of your stakeholders. In a survey we sent to early adopters of this feature, we saw that this significantly improved collaboration, team agility, helped get your requests in earlier for better forecasting and planning, and improved the way that you could forecast the upcoming demand. We've already seen over 33% of our customers adopt this feature. So if you haven't yet, definitely encourage you to take another look. And over the last year, we've also introduced new timeline, Gantt, calendar, table views, sharing abilities, and customizations that are going to continue to help you drive transparency and alignment with your teams and stakeholders. And coming soon, you will soon see request custom fields also available in custom views and reports. So this is particularly helpful for those requests that have not yet been accepted into projects but have been submitted. You'll now be able to report and prioritize and triage based on those critical data points and share that visibility across your team and across stakeholders, again, to keep everyone on the same page and help you prioritize what you need to. If right now you're feeling like it's us versus them, our goal here at Lytho is to help you feel like everyone is an us. Look, we know that working with and across your organization is paramount to ensuring you fuel your marketing flywheel and deliver the content outcomes your team needs to educate and excite and attract and engage your target audiences. All of the features we just covered and those to come can help you bring your teams and stakeholders together to get it done. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Sarah Griffin, Lytho's product marketing manager, former customer success manager, former Lytho customer. Sarah, I love your hat. Tell me about this.
BP. I thought we were all going to include costumes in our Olympic theming. I guess not.
You look fabulous. You do you.
I guess I didn't need to shave my whole body then. That's time I'm never going to get back, but oh well, let's just dive in. It is so fun to be with you guys here today talking about Lytho and where we've been, where we're going. I wish I could see all of your beautiful faces, but I trust that you're on the other end of the stream, oohing and awing along with us. So yes, let's dive into Create. As a former designer, I'm really excited to get to host this portion of our keynote. And we're going to start by looking at the number 2 challenge that you guys come to us for help when you're joining Lytho. And that is, we create more versions or extra work due to conflicting, disorganized, never-ending feedback, AKA bad collaboration. Basically, we don't have the right tools or the right processes in place to facilitate productive, constructive, efficient communication, which ultimately results in unnecessary work. And the impact of that lack of collaboration seeps into pretty much every step of the creative life cycle because collaboration is happening constantly. The increase in the demand when we look at speed and scale as one of our challenges, if the increase in demand then coupled with a lack of visibility results in content and creative teams assigned overflowing workloads, which are unmanageable, unrealistic a lot of times, and that results in jeopardized quality of output. When we look at trying to balance creativity and compliance, our efficiency is threatened when collaboration is difficult and is all over the place. So then also adhering to regulatory and consent requirements is threatened as well. And then going back to those silos that BP brought up earlier, cooperation between teams who contribute to our creation process is paramount for performing at that highest level, at that gold medal level. So if you're working in silos, you're just going to encounter breakdowns. That's the bottom line. So these three solutions we're going to walk through today that improve collaboration throughout the creative execution to simplify your production, to protect your efficiency, and then to keep Lytho as your single source of truth so you can measure and reflect on your work. We're going to dive first into creative automation, which is simply self-service templating tools. If you've recently read a marketing blog or attended a marketing event or listened to a webinar or a podcast, you've heard about this rising demand for content. We see that trend reflected in our actual own reporting metrics, looking at all the work that you guys are managing through workflow. And so these numbers probably don't surprise you. Looking at the last 2 years, we're looking at this average number of deliverables per account within workflow. So from July 22 to July 23, we were about, 1,060 deliverables per account. And then in that same time range from 23 to 24, we see that jump up to almost 1,200. That's a pretty big percent increase. So let's go to our judges for an official ruling. 11% increase. All of our judges agree that we're seeing a really big increase in the amount of work that's being managed through workflow to produce all of those deliverables. Those deliverables are a result of requested work. So looking at this stat, the average number of requests per account, we went from just over 900 to just over 930. So it doesn't seem like it's a huge increase. It's only about 3%, but each request takes about 27 days on average to complete. So even a small uptick is meaningful to us. It's impactful to the way we do our work and how much work we're managing. So if we correlate these two stats between the average number of requests and the average number of deliverables, we can conclude that more deliverables are required per request, which is an outcome of that marketing drumbeat we keep hearing about personalization, customization, localization. So the scope of each request is bigger. And for you, as our creators, eventually you're going to find a breaking point where the demand outpaces your resources, the people and the hours available. So we may need to bring in a tool to help tackle those really big briefs. And this is where creative automation is a solution. And it's why we introduced Tempo into our DAM last year. We launched Tempo at Lythopia in Durham with this Mr. Potato Head as kind of our unofficial mascot. Mr. Potato Head is a classic example of a template where you can mix and match parts and move things around, but you're generally keeping the same shape, the same concept as you're playing with the toy. Like Mr. Potato Head, Tempo is a templating tool that allows your stakeholders, your colleagues, partners, contractors, vendors to mix and match their approved assets like canned language, pictures, logos, so they can self-serve from the Lytho DAM. By creating templates, we're kind of passing the baton or sharing our crayons so others can self-serve and create the assets they need when they need them without having to make a request to the creative team. What used to take about a month, that 27 average to complete a request, now can be whittled down really to just minutes without draining any creative resources. We've seen one Tempo account generate over 1,000 assets since a month, 1,000 assets a month since their adoption. That's countless requests covered by Tempo templates, freeing up countless creative hours for better, more strategic work. We have this guiding principle at Lytho called let people run, and it's all about putting the right people in the right place and providing the right tools to be successful. And Tempo really embodies that philosophy. Like BP said earlier, we're turning everyone into an us because we all have a stake in the success of our creative assets, and Tempo empowers everyone to have an active role in that creation process. Over the years since we launched Tempo, we've added a lot of muscle to this product. I want to call out two specific features. The first is alternate layouts. You can build into a single template different layout options. So the puppets that can, sorry, not the puppets, your stakeholders can produce a variety of deliverables from just a single template. So for example, if you're running a social campaign And it's going to have various versions that are going to go out on all the different social media sites. And they're going to have different images depending on the messaging, depending on the call to action, depending on the segmented audience. And instead of your creative team creating every single variable and version of that work, you create a single template and you enable your marketing team to come in and be part of that creation process. Similarly, if you've got different sized digital screens across your campus or within your building, you can create templates so that your campus administrator or building administrator can handle keeping that content updated instead of having to reach out to the creative team constantly for little iterations on existing work. The second improvement that we've rolled out for Tempo is data merge, which allows you to upload data from spreadsheets to auto-populate your templates and produce up to 1,000 assets at one time in just a single click. So generating hundreds of assets in minutes instead of hours by importing your source data into our smart templates and letting Tempo map that data and generate the assets. So if you produce a lot of certificates or personalized like event materials or invitations or mailers, data merge is an absolute must for you within Tempo. So instead of kind of winding your way through that request process, that as we saw sometimes can be a little tricky, you can collaborate instead with your stakeholders and empower them to help you meet the increasing demand from the market by passing that baton, by sharing your crayons and bringing other people into the creative process and really embracing collaboration in that space. Speaking of collaboration with your stakeholders, online proofing is where we see essential feedback exchanged between stakeholders and creative and content teams. It's where your creative team is tested and perfected, and it's where final decisions are made. So asset review really is a linchpin. Proofing is also where the wheels can really come off and your timeline can get wrecked because you're at the mercy of your stakeholder to get their work done amidst their other responsibilities and priorities. And stakeholders have varying levels of familiarity and comfortability with Lytho. You heard BP mention the stat around, 11% fewer proof versions for teams who have adopted request file markup because they're providing an environment for collaboration really early in the creation cycle, which produces quicker alignment and faster production. And spoiler, if you're using request file markup, you're using an early version of the new Lytho proofing. That's right. We have a new online proofing tool coming your way. So soon, the RNA that you know and love will look and feel totally different, but in all the best ways. We've stripped down the code basically to the studs, and we're rebuilding the whole environment to be more powerful, more accessible, more convenient. You've been giving us a lot of feedback about how we can make this tool better, so that's what we're doing. Please hold your applause until the end of this segment. I'm going to give you all a sneak peek at a bunch of new features and functions, and you're going to want to hoot and holler your way through this. So for time's sake, if you would, actually, it really doesn't matter. I can't see or hear you, so go wild. The first improvement we're going to show you is the mobile experience. Yes, folks, the mobile experience. A massive part of the proofing overhaul is making it mobile responsive so that you can review your proofs on any device, on every device. Proofs need to be available anytime, anywhere, on any device, no excuses. When the time is right, we want your stakeholders to be able to access their reviews and get the work done. So here's what that mobile experience is going to look like. I'm opening up my review by clicking on the link in my email. I'm going to select what color I want my dots to be, and using the dot annotation, I'm going to start leaving comments. This is a product in development. So right now there's limited functionality I can show you, but eventually everything you see in the desktop version is going to be available and reflected in this mobile responsive environment. So we're leaving a few comments here, and then we're going to be able to actually set our approval status. And then eventually you'll see your, text annotation tools, the rectangle select tools. You'll be able to zoom in, zoom out. We're adding a bunch of new cool features to it too. And we're kicking off this early access program for the new Lytho proofing experience in late September. So if you're interested in getting your greedy little hands on this exciting new environment to help us test and refine the product, let us know. We're going to send out an event survey, and that's where you can express interest in joining this early access program. And so we can't wait for you to get your hands on it. So let's look at another about dozen or so improvements that you can get really excited about as we move into this new litho proofing experience. First is we are going to expand the comment box. This is a small but mighty improvement that we know a ton of you have asked for. Me, as a former designer and Lytho customer, this was an improvement that I was on the wish list to get. It can be challenging sometimes to work in that little small box experience that you have now. So we're making it better by making it expandable. I, for one, am verbose. I tend to use way more words than I need to. So this will be an excellent tool for someone who's a little bit of an over communicator like me. The next improvement is going to be dark mode. You'll be able to toggle in between dark and light mode, depending on the device you're using, the asset you're looking at, whether it's digital versus print with crop marks or other printer marks on it. You just need to see it how you want to see it, and we're going to let you decide what works best based on the environment and the context of the proof that you're looking at. Next, you will be able to sort your comments so you can prioritize that feedback in a way that best suits your workflow, making your collaboration more organized, therefore more productive. This is particularly helpful when you are reviewing video assets. You can sort by oldest comments, newest comments, or by timestamp. You can also see in this little video reel that by clicking on the comments in the comment section, you'll actually jump right to that frame. And then we have the ability to, with arrows at the bottom of the screen, to toggle through your comments. So there's a lot of improvement coming to the commenting, which is just straight up collaboration right there. Next, we'll be able to have live links in your form. So if you've got a live link in this form, like if we scroll down to the bottom, we can turn on interactive mode, which means that I can click on this link and boom, Rick rolled roasted. Those links are live. So you don't have to copy and paste, go type them into another browser window. You can just click on it there and your team gets to double check, make sure that's actually directing where you want to. Same if you've got an interactive PDF that has form fill fields in it. Those will be live when you toggle on that interactive mode, so you can engage with those elements right from within your review. Next is our search of the entire proof, just making it quick and easy to find any content within your big pieces of, or your big Word docs or PDFs, any of your text files that are being uploaded, making that content search really easy and efficient. And then lastly, on this slide, we're going to look at the continuous page scroll. This is just a fluid experience that mimics how other tools scroll through pages. So it's a nice seamless experience. And all of the improvements that you see listed in front of you here with the asterisks are live now in request file markup, which I have to say is such an amazing tool. That was another wish list ticket of mine when I was a customer, and I use it all the time, particularly when I'm communicating website updates to our web designer. So if for no other reason, jump into request file markup and try it out as a way to see what this new litho proofing experience is going to look like. Okay, we got to keep going. We got to keep moving here. I'm probably over time. Verbose. Okay, so next, we are also going to be adding in the ability for you to clear your approval status. So you can change your mind, go back in and toggle through approved as is, approved with changes, change and resubmit, depending on how the maturity of that work is moving through. You'll also be able, or you're also going to see this new exit pattern. We've heard a lot of feedback from you guys about stakeholders really struggling to assign an approval status to each page before they exit the review. So now the new pattern is going to default to, I'm going to finish this now, instead of the default being, I'll finish this later. So the hope is to help your stakeholders understand really all of the clicks it takes to get that final approval from them, and that version or that status back to the designer so that triggers the notification and you guys can keep working. So we're improving that exit message because we hear you, the stakeholders need a little extra hand holding in that space. So we're going to be adding a ton of new features to the product after its initial release. And so we see here, we're going to bring in additional information so you've got all the context you need to review. You'll be able to access the initial request, see your project name, and then also you'll show the root of the review so that you know exactly who's been involved. So you have all the context you need to really efficiently work through the review. You'll also be able to hyperlink in your comments, and we're adding in text formatting to your comments. So like I said earlier, don't forget that we're kicking off early access for the new litho proofing in September, like late September-ish. So please, please, please be sure to express your interest in our survey so you can join that cohort, and we can't wait to share that with you. Our final collaboration solution in the create space is to break down those silos with integration expansions. Across your content and your creative and marketing teams, you have specific processes and specialized tools. Lytho needs to play well with all of those other tools, and we have some open and some direct integration work that's happening to help you connect and sync your teams across different preferred or even required platforms. We'll start with Open API. APIs allow softwares to connect and share information. A bunch of you are already utilizing the DAM's Open API. So allowing you to connect your tools and easily share your assets out of the DAM into other platforms. And so we're expanding that function into the workflow product. Depending on what other platforms are in your tech stack and how your teams work and collaborate, if you can dream it, Lytho Workflow is ready for you to build it. So if Open API, well, first, if you know what Open API really means and or if it's piqued your interest, keep your eyes peeled for our announcement and for documentation about that so you can share that with your IT and dev teams. Next, we'll move into our direct integrations, which we're expanding in the DAM and workflow space. These direct integrations are pretty much ready out of box, and all you have to do is toggle them on in your account. In addition to some other, this is not a comprehensive list here on the screen, the Lytho DAM integrates with Microsoft Office and the Adobe Suite apps. So it's easy to place your assets right from the DAM into those files. A few weeks ago, as we mentioned earlier, we announced that the Lytho DAM now integrates with DivvyHQ for easy file sharing between your creative and your content teams. And last year, we partnered with Zapier, which allows you to build actions in Zaps with other platforms that use Zapier for seamless file sharing. And we're about to release a new improvement to our DAM plugin with an integration to Adobe InDesign called our Link Sync connector. With the DAM plugin add-on, assets placed in InDesign files will be URL-based instead of stored locally. So when embedded links in InDesign break, if you are a designer, you know that pain. Your design files become just riddled with errors, and it takes a lot of time to fix those errors. And we often see teams going out of their way to develop a process to protect against links breaking. So with our Link Sync connector, images placed in InDesign files via the Lytho DAM plugin are linked using URLs instead of being copied and stored and accessed and referenced versus a local storage. So this means that your embedded links are never going to break, and the images are really easy to update when a new active version is saved in the DAM. So you're always using the most recent versions of files. The connector allows teams to share InDesign files without any need to package them. You don't need to create duplicates of a bunch of embedded images and save them in all these different file structures. You don't need to worry about version confusion, and you don't have to connect to a company server. As an InDesign lover, and I mean like lover, I write email drafts in InDesign, so this connector is going to be huge and really save a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's coming your way soon. So get excited for that. The next direct integrations we'll look at are for workflow. And we're adding more connections here to better facilitate your connections across the tools and to sync across your different tools. I've highlighted a few of them here on the screen. You can find a complete list on our website, but we're going to look at 3 in particular that are coming soon. We're super jazzed about bringing Lytho into Slack and Teams. We want Lytho to be available in the apps that your team already has open all day long on their desktop, where collaboration and communication is happening pretty much organically already. So we're connecting to Slack and to Teams first. And the first action we're going to release with this integration is the ability to receive your review invites in Slack and Teams. You already get them in your email and you already get them in app, and soon they'll be delivered to Slack and Teams as just another touch point. This integration makes it a lot easier for you to coordinate with your stakeholders, and it makes Lytho just easier to access. You're going to love it because your stakeholders, I almost just stepped on my dog's ear. You're going to love it because your stakeholders will actually see those reviews and they're going to get them done even sooner, which is going to be awesome. The next is Jira. Based on your wishes, or should I say your gentle demands, we're connecting with this software so you can share and sync information between the two systems, like project numbers. You can create work in either system based on activity happening in the other. Similarly, statuses can be updated based on work that's happening in between or in one of the other systems. It'll trigger action in the other. You're going to love this because we're eliminating that duplicate data entry and project management. We know that you have different people working in different platforms, oftentimes on the same projects, but now you'll be able to sync the work in between the two systems. Most importantly, keeping Lytho as your single source of truth. It's all of these, and really the point of all of the integrations is to help keep Lytho as your system of record. And because you keep your work and processes organized in Lytho, you can measure your efficiencies and your workloads and your wins. Speaking of you, I want to wrap up the create portion of the presentation with a few customer spotlights, just to show how teams are managing their way to better content outcomes with Lytho. We had a customer join about a year ago, and within their first year, they saw a 66% reduction in time to first proof, a 74% reduction in proof versions, and 93% reduction in project cycle times. And that happened in 1 year. I can't wait to see what this team does as they continue to grow and mature with us. Because when you have the right tools and an unmatched customer success and support staff to get you set up and ensure your success, I mean, the results are on the screen. They're right in front of us. Looking at another team in just 6 months, 40% reduction in time to first proof, 84% reduction in proof versions, and 37% reduction in project cycle times. So collaboration happens everywhere all the time. And these numbers show how improved collaboration helps teams perform at their highest level with Lytho. So how's your team crushing it? What are the wins you can share with your leadership that shows how hard you're working to prove your value, shine that light on your team's hard work and achievements? These numbers are really, really fun to see, and I want to see more of them. I want to see more of them from you, and I want to see more of them from our Director of Product Management, Chris Herndon. Chris, I think you're going to tell us a little more about understanding our performances.
I am. Thanks, Sarah. We have a lot of great stuff here to help create part of the cycle. Many teams come to us with a need to quantify their operations so they can drive decisions, improve their processes, or make business decisions. This is where Perform comes in. Look, we've been talking about the Olympics, and in every break between the games right now, and apps on our TV, notifications on our phone, every newscast, you see the medal counts by country. We're all tracking the success of our teams, and we know that right now the U.S. is leading in total medals with 28 as we've been on the call today, right? The 28th medal, although we need to pick up some more gold here and there. But knowing the results of your efforts and where your team stands is key to understanding how you're performing. Having access to your production and operations data, the time measures, the number of deliverables, resource allocation, and asset usage are all critical to your being able to communicate the value of your efforts in delivering the content your marketing teams are demanding. Let's take a look at some of the ways Lytho is helping by measuring and tracking both your performance and even your assets when they go into the marketplace. For starters, this year we introduced Lytho Tracks as an add-on to the DAM. This tool allows you to digitally fingerprint assets in the DAM and then track them across the web so you can see where they're published and shared online. This is super handy for compliance and legal reasons to prevent unauthorized use of your images with consent requirements. Using this technology in conjunction with your model consent forms and quick claims allows you to find those images and pull them back when you need to. It's also helpful in marketing efforts to know where your assets are going and discovering new markets where your images are being surfaced. Please ask your CSM if you're looking for ways to keep track of your licensed material or just want to see where your assets are winding up online. Now, we also know how important it is to track production metrics, to understand your creative and content team's performance. This is where the analysis of your planning and creative come together. And as you might have picked up on earlier, Divvy brings with them content marketing analytics and a set of dashboards that allow you to understand not only content production metrics, but the performance of them in the marketplace with dashboards for demand gen campaigns, GA4 web metrics, and a robust marketing metrics dashboard. We're excited to bring this level of reporting to Lytho, and it's inspired us to take our reporting and analytics to new places. Now, with reporting and workflow, we've seen an evolution from reports and custom views that help you organize your daily work and see snapshots of your performance. We've worked hard to give you the operational data in the places that work best for you and your team, but we know they've lacked visualizations, the type that convey trends over time and aggregations that are needed to tell the story. Last Lythopia, we demonstrated the Creative Operations Dashboard as a way of showing how you could extract raw data from Lytho and build interesting metrics and KPIs for your teams. Many of you have seen strategic business review metrics and our year-end stats blast that show trends and give you an idea of how you measure up year over year against yourself and your industry. The DAM dashboard gives you some key measures about asset usage, but we also recognize our reporting on the DAM could be better and that you're looking for more things like asset and activity auditing, approval time metrics, and deeper usage analytics. We've heard your requests for better data visualizations, dashboards, and reporting across the platform. We know this is an area we can improve in. And so let me introduce to you the future of Lytho data visualizations and insights. We're centralizing data from workflow, proofing and reviews, DAM, and Divvy all in one place. The goal is to connect all the data from every piece of your marketing lifecycle and be able to analyze, visualize, and report on the most impactful metrics to your teams and stakeholders. And this is how we're going to do that. First, we're going to bring data visualizations into workflow and then into the DAM. That means dashboards, charts, graphs, and tables. What you see here is an early peek at some of our proof of concepts, and this work is in development as we speak. We're starting with what we think will be the most valuable metrics in workflow, initially a tab called Insights in the dashboard. Here you can start to see your creative operation trends, interact with them to gain more insight, and export them to enable more effective reporting. Expect the kind of metrics you've seen in strategic business reviews, along with time measures, breakdowns by segment, and others you've been asking directly for. We want you to be able to tell a story about some of the things you've heard about today, your reduction in time to first proof, your review durations, and project cycle times. Find out where you are most efficient in your process, and maybe who that blocker is to getting things out the door. Next, we're going to expand this view and give you more control over chart creation, customization of dashboards, and sharing of these metrics. This includes the scheduling of reports for easy delivery. Then we want to extend the capabilities and offer them in ways we've heard you asking for. The power here is that not only will you have the same data you currently have in your reports, we can start expanding access to the data you can analyze and give you more ways to connect them across work item types, modules, and even external data sources. We believe this will truly revolutionize the way you look at Lytho, not just as a great creative intake and project management tool or the best-in-class online proofing tool, but where you can gain better insight into your operations performance, easily visualize and share that story with others in your organization. We're really excited about what this can do for reporting, and we can't wait to see where you take this to track your performance. But wait, there's more. Obviously, AI is the hottest thing in tech right now, and we wanted to take a thoughtful and practical approach to bringing AI into our products. So we've been deliberate about how we integrate these technologies in the platform. We understand both the power of these tools to increase performance and introduce risk. So we're mindful of how we're targeting features and solutions. That said, can I be like a CEO, maybe even our CEO, and just ask my friendly little GPT what to do? Like, only if it were that simple, right? The truth is, we're already doing some of the things here that I guess ChatGPT is telling me to do. We're already doing some of these things, and some level of AI has been a part of our platform for a while. The dam has employed machine learning in its search mechanism for years, and Trax brings AI-powered monitoring to find fingerprinted assets across the internet. Divvy has generative AI integrations that help in content writing and editing. When it comes to content creation, there's a few key players that have risen above the pack, and we've partnered with some of them to ensure their AI functionality works really well within Divvy's content creation environment. So what's next? How do we take advantage of the new AI tools coming online? Well, first, we're upgrading the dam to use vector searching powered by AI to be able to find content and images and quickly surface them when you're trying to locate assets. This technology can be used in facial recognition, so you can find assets with specific people in them. We know this is a big need for a lot of you. And using AI, we'll be able to suggest tags and enhance your taxonomy management so you can organize your assets better. This is going to be cool. But it doesn't stop there. We're going to continue to look for ways to make your workflows faster and more automated, help manage resource allocation, and allow you to ask questions of your operations data. Build analytics that help you gain insights with ease and forecast in that next cycle. We're really excited about this area of growth, and we'll continue to innovate in ways to support you and your teams and avoid the disruption we know is out there. It's going to be really cool. Brittany, we'll send it back to you.
That was amazing. I have literally been jumping up and down this entire time. I cannot wait to get my hands on that new proofing tool, the reporting, the AI. I am pretty much freaking out over here. But I'm going to get it together with all of you and just wrap up with a few final stats. You know, in the last year, we've seen you guys are busy. Requests are increasing, projects are increasing, reviews are flying. This is literally over 8,800 reviews submitted a day. So how can we at Lytho continue to help you adapt and innovate and perform at the highest level? We have a few ideas in mind. So first, we want you to take the survey we just shared to sign up to be the earliest to access the latest features. You know we love your feedback, and we want to help you learn more about the solutions you've heard about today. We'll be sure to work with you to maximize your subscription and help you get the most out of Lytho. A lot of what we shared is already in your hands. Then we suggest you follow the steps of our Plan, Create, Perform playbook. Number one, talk to your teams. Getting content and creative on the same page using the same tooling will help you increase transparency, alignment, and help you become more proactive to support your broader marketing strategy and flywheel. Next, take a good look and audit your processes. You have the data available to you if you're already using Lytho, and a lot of what you saw, again, is available. So there may be room for improvements, and this is what our customer success team is here to do, to help consult and guide and provide suggestions of how we can help. Third, dive into your reporting. You know we love to say what gets measured gets managed, and we love to also help you tell your story with the data points you already have. So please let us know how we can help you drive in continuous improvements and glean insights from the reporting available to you today. Next, take a look at what you can automate, especially the simple assets, the assets your team creates over and over, the assets that are closest to your brand messaging. With Lytho Tempo, these can be templated and those can be scaled. And that helps you turn a 30-day request end-to-end process into a 5-minute task your stakeholder can do themselves. Once the assets are out in the wild, we want to help you track their performance. So the newest feature to hit the Lytho dam helps track that content no matter where it ends up on the internet. So you always know what's available and performing and compliant. And then the last thing is we know that we always are thinking about change management, that you are always thinking about change management too. And we're obsessed with helping you manage that. So if you've heard anything today in terms of integrations, in terms of open API, in terms of AI capabilities, now's the time to start talking to your teammates about those capabilities. Bring your stakeholders in, bring IT in to ensure alignment and get everyone ready for the innovations to come. And we can help you do that too.